Welcome to Coach Bennett's podcast, where every run has a purpose, where kindness is hardcore, where this is about running, and this is not about running, where every starting line is a finish line in disguise, where rambling still gets you where you need to be, where pineapple will never ruin your pizza, and the sodas, adult and not adult kind, are always cold, and where there is room on the starting line for everybody. I'm Coach Bennett. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Let's get started. Episode 84. Oh, yeah, baby. I am so excited for this. Not just because of the topic, and I'm excited to talk about the topic. It's because I love the number 84. I've always loved the number 84, at least since 1984, and I'll tell you why. Don't worry, we're going to get to the meat and potatoes part of the podcast, but let me just tell you this. I love 1984 first and foremost because of the 84 LA Olympics. That was kind of the first real sporting event that I just dove into head first, just fully in. I was just in sporting heaven for those two and a half weeks for the LA Olympics in 84, and also because of the music. Now, you should check out the show notes at the end of episode 84 because there's going to be a link to an article that Rolling Stone put out a couple of years ago where the author basically made the case that the best year for pop music ever was 1984. You just go through that list, that top 100, and try to tell me that there's a year that has the depth and breadth of that year. It is epic. Epic. We're talking Prince, Madonna, David Bowie, Bruce Springsteen, Chaka Khan. The list just goes on and on and on. It is epic. Oh, the music is so good. It's so good. So anyway, that's why I love the number 84, Also, the book 1984, although that's hitting a little bit too close to home right now, so that's not really why I'm in love with 84. But the book's great, and you should read the book. All right, so let's get into episode 84, which just so happens to be called When Easy Isn't Easy. Now listen, I'm putting this out for a couple of reasons. One, if you run, you're going to go through some periods where you're wondering, why is everything hard? Even the easy runs are hard. And I want to talk about when even easy doesn't seem easy, because that's just how it's going to happen. It's just reality. It's life. It's running. But there are some things you should be thinking about. There are ways where you can mitigate some of the negatives that occur when even easy isn't easy. And I want to go through those with you. Also, this is coming out, as we're through the first week of January, we're heading into that second week of January. And what happens is we start to talk about how difficult some of the goals that we've set, the challenges that we're setting for ourselves, the kind of journeys that we're going on as we start the new year, we fully admit how difficult they get that third and fourth week in January. Well, rather than talking about those things when they get hard, let's talk about them before they get hard. Let's talk about them now. So when it does become difficult, when that commitment you made to do whatever, let's just say consistently run, suddenly becomes difficult to recommit to day after day after day, I want you to be thinking about this episode. I want you to be thinking about what you learned from this episode. And then I want you to put it into action. Okay? That's the purpose of this episode. That's why it's coming out now. So let's start first by just talking about what easy actually is. All right? Definition one, we're going to the dictionary. I love how some of you are like, is he going to go to the dictionary? Like, why even ask? I'm going to the dictionary. I love me my dictionary. My assistant coach, dictionary is always there, ready for me to open it up and learn something new. And oh, did I learn a few new things. So I looked up easy in the dictionary. It's an adjective. Definition number one, not hard or difficult. Okay. That makes sense, right? Requiring no great labor or effort. Okay, so definition 1 is exactly what you would think. I'll read it again. Not hard or difficult. Requiring no great labor or effort. Standard definition of easy. I love it. Let's go a little bit deeper, shall we? Definition 2. Free from pain, discomfort, worry, or care. That's also a definition of easy. I'm going to say it again. Free from pain, discomfort, worry, or care. You know me. I love me my definition number 2s. Okay, definition number 3. We're going there. Providing or conducive to ease or comfort, comfortable. Let's just do that again. Definition 3 of easy. Providing or conducive to ease or comfort, comfortable. Great. I'm going now to definition 12. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going into the depths. We're going to where alongside this definition are like weird fish. That's how deep we are going. Like that fish that has like the light that like sticks out from its forehead, like on a little like tube. Whatever that fish is, that's a weird fish. That's how deep we're going with definition 12. But it's a really important definition. And I think for all of you runners out there, for all of you athletes out there, for all of you people out there that are setting goals or taking on challenges, this is a good definition for you to remember about what easy is defined as. Definition 12, not forced or hurried. Not forced or hurried. Definition 12. Now that we've got our foundation, now that we've got our definitions, now that we've got our meanings for what easy means, let's dive into this for real, shall we? All right. I like to start with a question because that starts a conversation. At least the best questions start great conversations. So one thing I want you to do as you make your way through a training journey, as you make your way through life, when you're coming up against something and it's a struggle, it's difficult, it's not comfortable, okay? I want you to ask yourself this question. Is it supposed to be easy? From a coaching point of view, all right, this is an essential question. I'll tell you why. Letting the athlete know this is supposed to be easy is very important for a couple of reasons. Now, this is making certain assumptions. Let me actually start with a few assumptions. That the work you're doing is proper. The work you're doing is right for you. So I'm assuming what the athlete is taking on makes sense for that athlete. That's really important because if a coach tells an athlete, this is supposed to be easy, all right, but not for this athlete. Maybe it's supposed to be easy for a different athlete. Maybe it's supposed to be for a version of this athlete that we're going to see in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Maybe it was easy for this athlete before an injury, before time off, before sickness. The key here, is it supposed to be easy while you're doing it now, today, in the moment? That's the key. So if a coach tells an athlete, this is supposed to be easy, what that should mean is, for you today, while you do it, it should be easy. And then you go back to some of those definitions. We can just use the first definition, right? Not hard or difficult, requiring no great labor or effort. We can go down to 12, right? Definition 12, not forced or hurried. Great. Okay. But here's the other thing. Sometimes it's not supposed to be easy, and some athletes get tripped up here. And by some athletes, I mean a whole bunch of athletes get tripped up here. Sometimes they take something on, and it's not easy, and they immediately think they're not good. They're not good enough. They don't have what it takes. They're not tough enough. They don't have enough endurance or strength or speed. They don't have enough mental stamina. They just don't have what it takes for this to be easy. The problem is it's not supposed to be easy. I'll give you a great example, and I've used this specific example before. I was supposed to do a workout at the track when I was in college. The workout doesn't matter. It was supposed to be a series of 300s, so 300 meters, pretty fast, actually really fast, with a 100-meter easy jog in between. That would be the recovery. So 300 meters, a 100-meter jog, another 300 meters. Now, I went in thinking, okay, this is going to be hard, but not that hard. I hadn't really thought about the workout. I hadn't really thought about the fitness I was in. I hadn't really thought about what I was about to ask myself to do. I started the workout with the misconception that this was going to be way easier than it really was supposed to be. In fact, if I had gone in knowing just how incredibly difficult this workout was going to be, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have even tried the workout because I was not fit enough to do the workout I was planning on doing. So one, not only was I incapable of successfully doing this workout no matter what, I also had mistakenly gotten myself to believe I could do it and it wouldn't be that hard. So sure enough, less than halfway through this workout, I'm throwing a fit, a full-on fit. I am furious. I am angry with myself. I am berating myself. I am tearing myself apart. I'm telling myself I suck. And it damaged me for days. Even though a few hours later, when I'm writing this down in my running log, I realize, whoa, this workout was not only not supposed to be easy, it was also something I was not supposed to be able to do. But the effect of berating myself for 90 minutes on and off, it had a really, really bad effect. If you're hearing the dinging, it's because I didn't turn my phone off. That's my fault. So, my point here is understanding how difficult or easy a certain task, goal, challenge, run, workout is supposed to be is very, very important. Because if you're wrong, well, you're wrong. And it's very difficult to treat yourself the right way when you're doing something the wrong way. So I want you to think about that question. Is it supposed to be easy? And take your time with it. Because I just told you a story about where I asked that question, didn't take my time, and I came up with the wrong answer. And as a result, I had a really, really hard couple of days trying to wrap my head around the fact that I actually was in good shape. I was a good runner. I was tough enough because I had spent a long, long time telling myself the opposite of that after that workout. So ask yourself, is it supposed to be easy? So let's say you've asked that question, is it supposed to be easy? You gave it the proper amount of time where you thought about it, and you came up with a legitimate answer, okay? An answer based on substance. And the answer is, yes, this is supposed to be easy. And then it's not easy. I have another question for you to ask. Why? Why isn't this easy? Why is it not easy? Because what I want you to do is ask questions so you can come up with answers. There will be reasons for why something that is not easy is difficult, is hard. I'll give you an example. You may be off doing an easy run. I mean, that's the basic thing to bring up here for those of us that are runners. The equivalent of an easy run would be something that on a normal day is, something that you're not giving an incredible amount of effort to. Remember, go back to some of those definitions. It's not hard. It's not difficult. It's not requiring a great amount of labor or effort. It doesn't mean that, you're singing on your way to the starting line and you're gallivanting around the forest during an easy run. My point is, you're not questioning whether or not you can finish and, having a difficult time forming sentences out on an easy run. At least you shouldn't be. But let's just say you're out there on an easy run and you're struggling. It's difficult. It's hard. You need to ask yourself, why isn't this easy? Is it a physical reason? Are you exhausted? Are you fatigued? Are you stressed out? Are you doing too much? Is this easy run too long? Right? And that could be distance or duration. An easy run can become a very difficult run if you go too far. This is an important thing. I'm just going to stop here for a moment and talk about this. A lot of people go, well, an easy run is just, an easy pace. Well, to an extent, I mean, easy is an effort. It's not a pace, but the pace is going to reflect the effort. So if you're out there and you're saying, hey, guess what? Like, I'm just doing an easy run, and an easy run is, I'm making it up. It's, 6-minute Ks. Who cares? You personalize it for yourself. The numbers never matter in this situation. The point is they represent an effort. And in this case, I'm saying 6-minute Ks represent an easy effort for somebody out there. Okay? Could be 8-minute Ks, could be 10-minute Ks. Again, doesn't matter. You personalize it for yourself. And on this particular day, suddenly it's, well, this is getting difficult. Well, I'm running the pace that I normally run. Why is this difficult? Well, let me just tell you something. If you're taking on too much, inevitably the easy pace is going to become difficult. So if you're supposed to be running for 30 minutes and you run for 90 minutes, guess what? It's going to start to get difficult. It's going to start to get hard. So it may simply be a case of you're just doing too much. You're running too far on the run. It could be that you've been running too much and you're not recovering enough. And as a result, the runs are getting hard, inclusive of the easy runs. So that's a really good thing to have in the back of your mind of, when my easy runs start to get difficult, continuously difficult, consistently hard, it could be because you're just doing too much. It could also mean, like I mentioned, that you're fatigued or exhausted for any number of reasons. It could be just the speed run you did the day before. It could be from a long day of work, a hard day of school. It could be from a difficult conversation you had with a loved one. There are so many different things that can fatigue you, that can exhaust you. Stress. Okay, do you have a lot of stress in your life? I'll tell you what, you can be nailing the training plan. Everything can be going great, right? But if you have a constant source of stress in your life, it's going to eventually drain you to a point where you're unable to recover even from easy efforts, much less difficult efforts. So you want to be asking yourself, what is potentially going on in my life physically that's causing me to have such a hard time physically doing this run? But don't discount the fact that things like emotional, mindful, mental things can also fatigue and exhaust you, because they can also be a source of stress. So give yourself some time to kind of do an inventory of what's going on in your life. So maybe you can figure out why easy ain't so easy. Another thing to think about here is, are you making something that's supposed to be easy hard? I'll give you an example that I'm sure resonates with a lot of people right now in different parts of the globe, different than the Pacific Northwest, where we're going through winter, where we've got darkness coming very soon, and it's raining and it's pretty cold. But there are people out there right now that are dealing with intense heat, right? Are you making things more difficult simply by putting yourself in a more difficult situation? An example would be, are you running at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 p.m. when it would be easier for you to run at sunrise or just before sunrise or after the sun sets, where things have cooled down? So you may be wondering, like, I don't know why all of my runs are so difficult. I'll tell you why your runs are so difficult, because you're making them so difficult. It's very difficult to run during intense periods of heat. It's very difficult to run during the hottest part of the day. It's very difficult to run when the sun is at its strongest. And it's very difficult to recover from those runs. So what's happening is you're draining yourself more than you normally would for an easy run that would be, let's say, done at sunrise by running at 2 p.m. That's going to demand more recovery. If you're recovering as if you're running at sunrise, but you're really running at 2 p.m., you are not as recovered when you do your next run at 2 p.m., which is also going to diminish your resources at a much faster and greater extent and rate than if you were running at sunrise or after sunset. So you should be asking yourself, am I actually the one that's making this harder? Is it me? Am I dehydrated? Am I not fueling myself? Am I not eating enough? Am I not sleeping enough? Am I not dealing with the stressors in my life in a better way? Ask yourself if it's you. Are you potentially the one that's making something that should be easy hard? All right, that's, again, sometimes these are tough questions to ask, but these are answers that are going to help you. Just it's important to go back to that. Yes, it's not always easy to point the finger at yourself, but sometimes it's what's going to make everything in your life a little bit better, okay? Another question to ask is someone or something making something in your life that should be easy harder? And again, these are not easy questions to ask, or maybe they're easy questions to ask, I guess. They're just maybe not easy questions to answer, but they're important questions to answer. So ask yourself, are there people in your life that are making things more difficult? I'll give you an example of this. Not every teammate is a great teammate. I mean, that's just reality. That's facts. Not every teammate is a great teammate. Some teammates will hold you back. Some teammates will pull you down. Some teammates will drag you away from where you want to go, where you want to be. These are athletes that can make what you're trying to do more difficult. These are athletes that can make an easy effort a very hard effort, because you're now trying to carry the burden of what two teammates should be sharing. Now one is carrying. This is the thing. On a team full of teammates, every athlete has a role. Every athlete has a responsibility. Every athlete has a burden placed on them, something they need to carry for the team. And here's the thing. When an athlete isn't doing their job, they're not fulfilling their responsibilities, they're not doing their obligations, they're not carrying the burden that they have as a teammate on this team to keep this team moving forward, you don't just leave that behind. When that athlete drops their responsibility, the other athletes have to pick that responsibility up, and it is now their burden. They're now carrying more weight. So that is something to think about. And sometimes there are hard decisions that you're going to have to make. Sometimes that teammate does not need to be, should not be on the team anymore. Or sometimes what you're going to have to do is slow the progression of the team to help that athlete catch up. So these are things that you need to ask and you need to answer, because if things that are supposed to be easy are hard, you don't ignore this. You shine a light on this. You put that spotlight right on it, and you find answers. Okay? So let's move on. Another question to ask. Can you do something to make it easy? So I've told you about some decisions that maybe you make, and it leads to easy things becoming harder. Well, that means, though, that there are decisions you can make to make easy things that are now hard easy. So you can decide to wake up at sunrise or wait until the sun sets. You can make sure you're fueling, hydrating, getting better sleep, dealing with a troubled athlete. There are things that you can do, because if there is a reason for why easy isn't easy, that means there is a way to make something that's easy, that's not easy, easy. Okay, it makes sense. You can rewind and listen, but it makes sense, believe me. Can you do something to make it less hard is another way of looking at this as well. Because I know a lot of times people say, look, it's hard because I'm having a hard time getting enough sleep, so my easy runs are not that easy right now. Okay, well then the question maybe isn't what can you do to make it easy. Let's just flip it and say, what can you do to make it less hard, right? Maybe you can't get more sleep. You can get better sleep. Or maybe you can back off on the distance or duration of the runs that you're doing. Maybe it is a scheduling thing. Maybe since you're not getting great sleep, by the time you get home from work, you're cooked. And you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run at lunch instead of after work. Maybe what you realize is that because you're dragging, because you're tired, because you're not getting the sleep that you need, you're going to need to get motivation from a source other than yourself. So now it's not solo runs. You're going to meet people to go for runs because you're inspired and motivated by the group, and they're going to help you during this period of time where maybe you're not getting the sleep that you need. So your easy ain't so easy, but it's less hard when you're with a group. I want you to just get in the habit of not just having something difficult occur in your training. I want you to get in the habit when easy isn't easy to not just give up, quit, or berate yourself, right? I mean, that's what I want you to think about, because as I'm going through things to do when easy isn't easy, I want to also go through things not to do, right? Like, don't beat yourself up. The first reaction we usually have when we're dealing with something that's normally easy that isn't easy is to berate ourselves. It is. It's to tear ourselves apart. It's to be a crappy teammate. It's to be an abusive coach, when really it should be conversation. It should be questions. It should be trying to find answers. It should be trying to find ways to alleviate some of the issues that are causing this. Because if we're asking the questions, if we're paying attention, if we are concerned about this, then we're open to looking for the reasons for why this is happening, which means we're going to find something. And that means we can work with that something. But if our initial reaction is just, I suck, I'm not tough, I don't want it enough, where do you go with that? Like, let's say the reason is poor sleep, and your reaction is you suck. I don't understand how this gets fixed. You're not dealing with the actual issue at hand, which is you're not getting enough sleep. What if it's really stressful things occurring at school, at work, at home, and your first reaction is you're not tough enough? I don't understand how any of this gets fixed, how any of this is improved, because it doesn't get improved. It doesn't get fixed. The first things you need to be doing is asking questions and then listening to the answers that you're giving. That's what you need to do. And I'll tell you what you're going to learn from doing it that way. One, you're going to learn to be open-minded. You're going to learn to keep your eyes open, right? And you're going to learn to respect yourself as opposed to disrespect yourself. Your first reaction will be, let's see if we can figure this out. Let's see if there's a reason for what's happening. Let's see if we can figure out why easy isn't so easy. And you're going to respect yourself as an athlete, and in doing so, you're going to respect yourself as a coach. You're going to be better is basically what I'm saying. So don't beat yourself up. It doesn't help. You need to look for solutions, right? And when you don't look for solutions, you don't solve anything. So you continue to run hard when you're supposed to run easy, as opposed to saying, you know what, I do need to back off the distance. I do need to back off the duration, or I actually need to back off the pace, because the pace in my mind that I'm marrying with what an easy run is, well, in this situation, it's not. I need to actually go slower. And that isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of intelligence. It's making adjustments. You've heard me say before, coaching isn't about a training plan. Coaching is about making adjustments to a training plan. And yes, sometimes those basic numbers where you say my recovery runs are usually at 8-minute Ks, and that's for the last 6 weeks or so, it's roughly been around there. Yeah, but something happened. You stopped getting sleep, you stopped fueling, you stopped hydrating, you stopped having a stress-free life, and guess what? We have to make adjustments. Yes, you are still progressing forward, even when we're slowing the pace down, because we're making adjustments. You are becoming a better, stronger runner, even though we're backing off on the pace, or backing off on the distance, or backing off on the duration. That's just great coaching. Be a great coach. And you know what? The thing here is, it's important to remember that sometimes the hardest thing to do makes everything easier. And it's funny to me because when runners start to run consistently and start to pay attention to their metrics, I get it. It's exciting. It's fun to see those changes happen where suddenly your paces are coming down, your distances are going up. And then sometimes what you need to do, you need to back off. That's the smart thing to do. That's the elite thing to do. That's the great athlete thing to do. All right? That's the wise runner thing to do. It's really hard to do. It's really, really hard to do. Our egos get in the way, and it seems to go against what we've been learning from, day 1 of running is a couple of minutes and it's a couple of meters, and day 100 is many more minutes and many more meters, and we're getting faster, and suddenly we hear we got to slow down to speed up. Yes, sometimes you do. Sometimes you need to back off if you want to keep going. Sometimes you need to take a day off if you want to stay on this path of progression. So yes, sometimes the hardest thing to do makes everything easier. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to go even easier or not go at all. I want you to remember that, okay? Just like the opposite is true. Sometimes the easiest thing to do makes everything harder. Yes, it's easy to beat yourself up. It's easy to be a terrible coach to yourself. It's easy to be a terrible teammate to yourself. It's easy to just push, because guess what? That's hardcore. No, it's dumb. It's stupid. It's self-destructive. But it's easy to do, right? It's easy to not ask questions. It's easy to not make adjustments. It's easy sometimes to not back off. But it makes everything else you do harder, all right? So remember that. Remember both those things. Sometimes the hardest thing to do makes everything else you do easier. And sometimes the easiest thing to do makes everything else you do harder. And this is a lesson that I know this particular episode is occurring in January, but you can listen to this episode at any time of the year. Because it's timely at any time of the year. Because at any time of the year, even easy isn't so easy. It's just going to happen. You're going to have moments like this in your training cycles. You're going to have periods like this. If you're running, consistently, it's going to happen. And this is the other thing. This isn't just about running. I know you know that. I know you know this is about running. And I know you know this is not about running. But this is really something you need to bring with you outside of those starting and finish lines that your runs, are contained within. Bring this into the rest of your life because it's true there as well. And I'm gonna leave you with this because I think this is an important thing for you to know that running isn't always going to be easy. I think it's really important for athletes to know that. And it doesn't matter how consistent you are. It doesn't matter how focused you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. Running is not always going to be easy. All right? It's not. It's never always going to be easy. So remember, running isn't always going to be easy. But running isn't supposed to always be hard. It's not. So I want you to be asking yourself, truly ask yourself, is running always hard? And if it is, you got to make some changes because it's not supposed to be. All right? So I hope you enjoy this episode 84. I hope you take some time and check out the show notes. I'll put the link to the Rolling Stone article. I also will put a link up to my 80s playlist yet again. I know I put it up a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to put it back up there because you can never have enough 80s music. And there's some new links there in the show notes. There's obviously the To Coach Bennett's merch store. And you're going to find a link to details about Best Runner Ever Winter Edition 25. Oh yeah, we're back. And if you don't know what Best Runner Ever is, it's a program that myself and Coach Tammy of the Show Up Society, that's Coach Bennett the Greater, we've put on a Best Runner Ever Winter Edition. I think twice we put on a Best Runner Ever Summer Edition. We've had a Best Runner Ever Summer Miles, but it's an incredible community that we put together for a month. It'll be the month of February. All the details, like I said, are going to be in the show notes. It's really a great experience. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to make sure that you have the best winter of running that you can possibly have. And yeah, all the registration and details, sign up, all that good stuff is going to be in the show notes, so check that out. And thank you for listening to the show. I hope you are following or subscribed to the show on whatever platform that you listen on. If you could leave a review, that would be fantastic. if you could do a review and a rating. And in fact, maybe, you know what I'll do next week? I'm going to read some reviews. So put your reviews in there, leave some ratings, and we'll start the show with a couple reviews next week. How about that? Because I really should be celebrating all of you and thanking you for leaving those reviews and ratings. So that's what I'll do. I'll start next week reading some of those reviews and ratings. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll meet you on the next starting line. Thank you so much for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast today. And if you haven't already subscribed or set yourself as a follower to the podcast, I really hope you would. And make sure you check out the show notes, because in those show notes, you're going to find a link to Coach Bennett's newsletter and all the social media sites I'm on, like Instagram and Threads and Cameo and Blue Sky and Nope, not on that one anymore. So all the ones I am on, you're going to find it in the show notes, so check that out as well. And as always, thank you again for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast. Until next time, you keep taking care of yourself and each other.